In our last episode, we discovered a group of Blood Eagle raiders that had a crate of highly advanced rocket launchers stamped with Brotherhood of Steel insignia. These were weapons that the Brotherhood had lost during their trek to Appalachia all the way from California. But we learned from Shin and Romani that the Blood Eagles were not the only raiders to have these weapons, and they are both concerned about how these weapons will be used in the wrong hands. Heading back to Fort Atlas, we can check in with Knight Shin to find out what he needs us to do.
For your sake, I hope this is a scheduled visit, Initiate. You're here. Good. To review the current situation, one of our patrols located a cache of dangerous weapons in a raider storeroom. Stolen Brotherhood weapons, no less. Your assignment is to secure the storeroom for the Brotherhood, and the weapons along with it. I'll put together a squad and meet you there. But given the situation, it's imperative you arrive there as soon as possible. Any questions, Initiate?
What weapons are we talking about again?
I should put negligence on your record for asking that question. Lucky for you, I don't have the time. If you can recall your last assignment, it had to do with putting down a rabid den of Blood Eagles in possession of military-grade rocket launchers. The same kind of rocket launchers were discovered in the possession of some raiders from Crater. Needless to say, that's a problem, and we are going to fix it.
Why do you care so much about these weapons?
Care? Are you insinuating this is a personal matter? I am carrying out the Brotherhood's mission. The reason our logo is on those weapons is because we swore to keep them out of civilian hands. Now it's time to fix our mistake.
How should we handle the raiders?
Paladin Romani forbids engagement without warning. So, we will attempt to speak to them when we arrive. That being said, the raiders have already made it clear they're determined to be our enemies, stealing supplies, ambushing patrols, using Brotherhood weapons to terrorize the region. If they are unwilling to cooperate, we will put our foot down. So be prepared for combat.
I don't want to fight the raiders.
I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to. They're a menace to Appalachia. But if you have some way of negotiating with them, that's on you. I'm sure Paladin Romani would appreciate a non-violent solution.
I'll secure the storeroom.
One last thing. We need to confirm the weapon's source. I find it unlikely the raiders will be willing to talk until after we send them a very clear message. If any of them are still alive after that, we can question them. But priority one is securing the weapons they already have. That will be all. Dismissed.
With that, Knight Shin adds the location of a makeshift vault to our map. We find this vault southwest of Wavy Willards. There is a small dirt trail leading up to a red door embedded in the side of a rock. Upon entering the makeshift vault, we immediately find a bunch of crates stamped with Brotherhood insignia. There are a couple of outhouses here that are empty, and turning left, we go down a path that opens up into a larger chamber. At the far end of the chamber, we see people waiting for us, and getting close.
Well, looks like we have a visitor. Did the Brotherhood send you? Didn't know they were working with run-of-the-mill average wastelanders. Thought they wanted you strapped into one of those tin cans round the clock. It's wrong of me to judge by appearances, though. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Incidentally, Pierce here has something unique to say if we show up wearing power armor, and we notice that Knight Shin and other Brotherhood soldiers have come in behind us.
I gotta say, you're doing a good job representing them. Dressed up in all that clunky armor. It's wrong of me to judge by appearances, though. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Who I am is none of your business.
Can't argue with that. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly curious about all the heavily armored personnel who just showed up behind you.
Or we could have said, the Brotherhood of Steel is here to claim this property.
That's so. You got a deed to go with that claim? 'Cause, we're not gonna sign it.
This vault and all material goods within are hereby under possession of the Brotherhood of Steel. This requisition will aid us in the preservation of technology and the protection of mankind. Your compliance will ensure your safety.
You know, I'm interested in hearing more about this protection of mankind business. I suppose killing a few no-good raiders is an easy price to pay for the benefit this measly little vault will provide for us as a species. Is that it?
I repeat, your compliance will ensure your safety. Not that I'd expect a simple-minded brute to understand.
Resorting to name-calling already. I have to say, I'm disappointed. Thought I'd be able to speak to someone civilized from a big-shot organization like yours. What about you, Forward Scout? Think we can work this one out? Or are your underpants in as tight of a bunch as Mr. Compliance over there?
We find a number of options to talk ourselves out of this sticky predicament. We could pass a perception check of 8 to say you're out-armored, outgunned, and we have a positional advantage. Give it up.
News to say we don't have that whole platform you're standing on rigged to blow.
I'll call your bluff. You didn't expect us to come.
Alright, I'll admit, this is a serious oversight on my part. Should have known those initiates who stopped by would have gone frying to their superiors. Humor me on one thing.
Or we could pass a raider check if we chose to side with the Crater Raiders during the Wastelanders DLC and say, I helped Crater break into Vault 79. Consider this repayment.
You did what?
Oh, so that was you. Meg's mentioned your name here and there. Don't worry, only good things. She placed a lot of trust in you back then, and it seems to have paid off. Alright then. I don't know what's possessed you to put your lot in with the Brotherhood of Steel, but I'm sure there's more to that story. Just don't expect to use the same excuse more than once. And, humor me on one thing. This place doesn't offer us any strategic leverage over the Brotherhood. If anything, you're gonna waste more resources protecting a place so far away from your home base. So then, it must be the weapons that are important to you. What's so special about these rocket launchers that a top-ranking member would come to collect them himself?
I don't know how you became aware of our internal hierarchy, but it's irrelevant to the situation. You will leave the weapons in the vault and disperse. Now.
How about you? Do you seriously take orders from this constipated suit of metal?
We find 4 options. We could say that the weapons are Brotherhood property. We could say that we don't know anything about the weapons. We could say that it'll make us look bad if you Crater Raiders use Brotherhood weapons to terrorize people.
Terrorize? We're out here trying to survive, just like anyone else. Meanwhile, the Brotherhood is marching around in power armor, threatening people who don't meet its demands. You tell me who's the real terror.
Or we could say, I think the Brotherhood wants to cover up its mistake of letting these weapons get out in the first place.
Finally, some honesty.
The Initiate doesn't know what they're talking about.
You don't give your subordinates enough credit. In any case, I got the answer I wanted. We're heading back to Crater. This stash isn't worth it.
Not so fast. Tell us where you got those weapons from.
Ooh, sorry. I don't discuss Raider affairs on Brotherhood territory. If you really want to know, you can come talk to me in Crater. The rookie should know the way. Send them. Oh, and Mr. Knight, learn to relax your face muscles a little.
With that, Pierce and the Crater Raiders leave the makeshift bunker. No one opens fire, no one dies. Perfect. After the Raiders are gone, we can talk with Shin.
We completed the first part of our mission.
If we conducted ourselves like a member of the Brotherhood.
You composed yourself in a manner befitting of the Brotherhood. We don't compromise, especially not with Raiders. It's clear you understand that.
Or if we let slip the fact that we're actually a member of the Crater Raiders.
And in the process, uncovered an enlightening piece of news about our new initiate. That means you. When did you plan to disclose your previous relationship with Crater?
We find a number of options. We could say it means nothing now. I'm loyal to the Brotherhood. Or it was an oversight on my part. I'm sorry. We could try to persuade him that it's a good thing to have positive relationships with the Raiders. Or we could say, what? You mean you couldn't tell? I'm a Raider, through and through.
A Raider who kills their own kind. From what I understand, Crater takes loyalty seriously. That might be the only thing we have in common. Given the service you've done for us so far, I have no choice but to assume you're trying to be funny. Don't try it again. Moving forward, we still need to track down the weapon source. That man appeared to know something. I don't care how you get it out of him, but make sure you get it.
Are you okay, Knight? You seem a little angry.
I thought the raiders were bad enough before that vile cretin opened his mouth. And we just let him. This is off topic, Initiate. Don't ask me a question like that again.
You mean you're sending me to Crater? Isn't that dangerous?
Yes, it's dangerous, but not as dangerous as it would be to leave this thread hanging. Our duty as the Brotherhood is to preserve the future of mankind, to be relentless in our removal of threats, present and future. I wouldn't send you on this mission if I didn't think you were capable of coming back alive.
What's going to happen to this place?
We'll set up some protectrons to guard it, and transfer the weapons back to Fort Atlas. After that, it can be used as an intermediate storehouse for anything our patrols find in the northern part of Appalachia.
I'll find out where the weapons came from.
This is your top priority. The longer we let these weapons spread, the more difficult it will be to track down all of them.
With that, Shin steps aside to really inspect this candle. Man, he's really interested in this candle. Leaving us free to explore this makeshift bunker, find out exactly how this thing exists, who built it, why is it here. This earthen ground floor is littered with all sorts of stuff. Spare robot parts, barrels, scrap metal, barricades, boxes, sinks, toilets, crates. And of course, crates marked with Brotherhood of Steel insignia. There is a ruined terminal in the rubble that we can't access. Going up a ramp to the upper portion, we find the entrance to the makeshift vault. It's a huge vault door with restricted access stenciled in the wall above. Just outside the door, we find a jukebox, some scrap, a weapons workbench. One of the raiders decided to stay, for some reason, but she's not saying anything. On a table near to a ham radio, we find a note. Unessential. Got a letter from Vault-Tec informing us they couldn't secure any spots for us in any of the vaults. They called us unessential. Unessential my ass. I helped build those damn vaults. Who the hell do they think is gonna rebuild the world after the bombs hit? They won't miss any of these supplies I borrowed. What are they gonna do? Fire me? Oh, okay, well that explains it. A former Vault-Tec employee who couldn't get into a Vault-Tec vault stole some Vault-Tec supplies and built this sucker, which doesn't really look like a Vault-Tec vault at all, but I suppose this explains the Vault-Tec crates we find all over the place. Heading inside the vault, we can try to see exactly how good of a job this guy did building one. And at first glance, it appears not that good. The concrete walls are all crumbling. It's actually kind of perplexing. We just came back from Orwell Orchards, where we discovered that Ian Orwell built a lavish underground bunker all by himself with swimming pool and golf course. But this guy, a former Vault-Tec employee who stole Vault-Tec equipment to build this thing, built just a box, really. But the story becomes heartbreaking when we reach the back of the vault. Here in the ground, we find graves. This first one has a teddy bear and a baseball cap. The second one has a green rag hat. And at the very back of it, we find a small hole that someone had started to dig in the wall. And there we find his skeleton, the skeleton of a man in a miner hat with a pickaxe. Could this former Vault-Tec employee and his family got trapped down here somehow? His wife and child perhaps died to radiation or starvation, and unable to leave, he began to dig his way out before he too succumbed. Near to the door, we find a desk upon which is a note. One last trip. Since construction on our own vault is ahead of schedule, we decided to run into Grafton for a final supply run. Saw a bear sniffing around when we got back. Managed to scare it off with the rifle, though. I don't think he'll be coming back anytime soon. Things are starting to get bad out there, but we should be finished in a couple of weeks. We'll be all right. Perhaps the bombs dropped before he could finish his vault. We don't really know for sure because the note isn't dated, but perhaps he wrote this note just before the bombs dropped and he didn't get enough supplies from Grafton. He was a former Vault-Tec University student, hired by Vault Tech to build the vaults after he graduated and ultimately died in a vault of his own creation. Well, there's nothing left for us here. We need to head to Crater. Heading to Crater, we can try to find this Pierce guy, or find someone who knows anything about how they got their hands on these weapons. We'll start by heading into the Crater core and talking with Meg.
Well, if it ain't my favorite vault dweller. Still riding high from pulling off that job?
Here we find all of the same dialogue options we found at the end of Wastelanders after accessing Vault 79, with the addition of one new one. We can now say, actually, I wanted to talk about something other than the heist.
Oh, really? And what would that be?
Any thoughts on the Brotherhood of Steel?
Thoughts? What I got for them are bullets. Luckily, I got some folks who are real passionate about taking those bucketheads down. You want to know more? Talk to Pierce over in the war room. It's behind Irie's shop. Just don't get in the way. You'll regret it.
Do you know where I could find Pierce?
Sure do. What interest do you have with him?
Well, I just need to talk to him.
Don't want to tell me? Fine. It's your business anyway. Pierce is in the war room behind Irie's shop.
It's really none of your concern.
Don't want to tell me? Fine. It's your business anyway. Pierce is in the war room behind Irie's shop.
I'm representing the Brotherhood of Steel. We have unfinished business.
Wait, you're what? I thought you were running with us, 7-6. And we don't get along with the Brotherhood. Considering what you did for us, I'd hate for things to get violent. But the moment you threaten my people, you become an enemy.
All the work around
I'll let
here?
Pierce deal with you for now. Don't worry, he's got a policy. No blood spilled in the war room. It's right out behind Irie's shop.
That's all I wanted to ask about.
Catch you later, 7-6.
So now Crater has a war room behind Irie's shop. Heading that way, we see another bit of the destroyed space station embedded in the rock. Getting closer, we see that this leads to the Crater war room. Moving inside, we begin to overhear a conversation.
Can't believe they had the nerve to just barge in like that. That knight acts like some kind of righteous savior.
I told you. And they're only gonna get more confident.
I won't let them. Do we have their patrol routes yet? A couple ambushes ought to take them down a notch.
We'll have to discuss this later. We've got a visitor.
There he is. Pierce stands here with a couple other raiders discussing harrying Brotherhood of Steel patrol routes. Fine.
So, you really came? Huh. To be honest, I didn't expect the Brotherhood to show its face around here with anything less than a fully armored battalion. Life is just full of surprises, isn't it? So, what can I do for you, oh honorable emissary of Steel?
Aren't you forgetting something?
Oh, right! The weapons! After they got forcibly confiscated from us, I almost forgot about them. See, the thing is, you and your metal buddies put me in a pretty tight spot back there. There are people here in Crater depending on me. I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it back to them. So I prioritized a little bit. Getting home to those people was more important than being completely sincere to a group of heavily armed tyrants. So if you're looking for help with your little weapon problem, you can look somewhere else.
Or we can say, I'm just here to chat. You know, make friends.
Brilliant! Well, let me just pop open a bottle of Nukashan. And we'll kick back, exchange stories, tearfully share all the details of our tragic pasts. But I suppose yours goes something like this. You were a wayward soul, lost, looking for purpose. Then the Brotherhood of Steel came along and put a badge of honor on your chest. Made you feel like you really mattered. So now, you'll do anything for them. Like risking your life to come to Crater and ask about those weapons you confiscated. Well, here's my backstory. The Brotherhood of Steel pointed their guns at my face and stole my property. So that property is their problem now. I'm not telling you a damn thing.
Don't you think you're being stubborn, Pierce? We have a good little Brotherhood peon here at our disposal. We can make use of that.
We've been over this. There's no compromising with people like the Brotherhood. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile.
We don't know that yet for sure. Besides, everyone has their own motivations. Our visitor might have one worth talking about.
I won't rely on a betrayal to take them down. You should know that. I have nothing left to discuss. I've given you my answer, Initiate. Now for your sake, I'd suggest you don't stick around.
Hey, you. Don't leave yet. I've got something to say.
Pierce doesn't seem to want to talk with us anymore. We can try anyway.
You don't take kindly to idle visits. So tell me, is that what this is?
This war room is new. What are you guys trying to do here?
We're here to ensure that there remains a place for Crater in Appalachia. The more people come here, the more they'll want to take their own space, set their own rules, and then force those rules on others. Crater is our home, our freedom, our future. I won't allow anyone to take that away.
Who says the Brotherhood is going to take anything away?
The Brotherhood thinks of itself as our saviors. They'll take what they believe is righteous. And when we refuse to give it, they'll strike us down. It starts small. Food and supplies, a home base. They offer protection in return. And hope. Hope is powerful enough to make you blind. So when they start asking for more, when they start setting rules, occupying homes, taking lives, then it's too late. We can't let it get that far.
We find a number of options. We could say, I agree. The Brotherhood is dangerous.
That they are. That's why we're here.
Or order could be a good thing.
Order or tyranny. I'm not interested in either.
I think you're overreacting.
I'm responding to a threat. You can ignore the threat all you want, but that doesn't make it go away.
It's too early to say what will happen.
Then sit back and watch. See what it gets you when things suddenly go up in flames. At least I'll have my fire suit on.
Or we could pass a Brotherhood check to say, we are Appalachia's only hope for salvation. You're getting in the way.
Brainwashed already, huh? That's a shame. I was hoping you had a little more sense than the rest of them.
Are there any other threats in Appalachia?
Besides the obvious scorched and mutant life. Foundation, maybe. But it'll be a long time before they start asking for more. They're like us, in some ways. Just looking for a home. But don't tell Meg I said that.
Well, let's talk about something else.
Too political for you? Don't worry. In the end, it just amounts to fighting.
So, you run this place?
Run? Look, I'm not some kind of CEO or general. This is a family. Everyone does their part. Mine is the talking. Letting people know what we're doing all this for. How important it is. I may have started this effort, but it's the war party who moves it forward. And if you're not a part of it, I caution you to stay out of its way.
Can you tell me about the war party?
Only good things. What do you want to know?
Is Sheena your second in command?
She's more than a rung in a hierarchy. Sheena plans our operations. She's got a head for strategy. Said she used to play Blast Radius on repeat as a kid, until she could beat everyone she knew, including the adults. Imagine that. World's gone to shit and people still find solace in games. At that age, I was, well, still in school, studying for a future that never came to be.
What's the deal with Burke?
Burke's our muscle. The most hard-working person we've got. They don't talk much. Action is more their language. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Why do you refer to Burke as they?
Because it suits them better. When I first met Burke, they were different. Secluded. Like they didn't want anyone to see them. Burke flinched when others talked about them. People expected things based on how they looked. They had these titles. Silent Man, albino dog. One day I asked if something else would feel better. It took some trial and error, but we eventually settled on the neutral they. They're a much happier person now, for the insignificant price of a word.
I'm glad to hear that.
Me too.
I don't understand.
You know something? I don't either. Not fully, anyways.
Aren't there bigger problems to deal with?
What could be bigger than your sense of self? The body you walk through every other problem in? We all have a public perception in this world. Sometimes it doesn't match what we feel inside. Sometimes there's nothing we can do about that, but other times there is. And I don't need to understand everything Burke is feeling to want to see a smile on your face.
Is Meg involved in any of this?
Meg has enough on her plate without the Brotherhood to deal with. I came to her one day with an army of raiders, raring to fight. She looked at me and said, "What are you waiting for? This ain't no democracy. Just don't get Crater in trouble and we're good." So, here we are. The war party.
What about the rest of Crater?
We have plenty of support. Not everyone wants to be directly involved, but those who do are ready to risk life and limb. There's also your fair share of mercenary Craterites just looking for caps. But considering the Brotherhood could probably pay better, I suspect those mercs have an ounce of loyalty they're not willing to admit to.
Well, that's all I wanted to know about the war party.
Well, why not get to know them yourself? I'm sure you'll find there's more than meets the eye.
How come you don't just kill me?
There's no blood spilled in the war room. This is where we plan our battles, not enact them. The Brotherhood should know that we're not a bunch of mindless killers. So if they want to send someone here to talk, they can. Not that anything will come of it.
All right, we'll see you around.
I'll be here until the Brotherhood isn't.
Well, looks like we've come against a brick wall with Pierce here, but it sounds like Sheena might be willing to play a ball. Turning towards her, we can see what she has to say.
Don't mind Pierce, he's stubborn. Holds too tightly to his morals. I'll tell you about the weapons, but you're gonna need to give me something in return. Interested?
Finally! I've been waiting for a chance to stick it to those bucketheads.
With that attitude, I'm surprised you're working with them in the first place. But that's your business.
Or we can say, what is it that you want?
I want intel on the Brotherhood. Records, roster, correspondence. You've got people specialized in keeping track of that sort of thing, right? Transfer their data onto this holotape and bring it back to me. Then I'll tell you what you want to know.
What are you going to do with that data?
We're not on friendly terms with the Brotherhood. What do you think we're going to do with it? Don't worry. If the Brotherhood is as powerful as they are confident, then it shouldn't make any difference, right?
How do you know about our scribes?
How do you know about our war room? About that vault where you ambushed Pierce? We have eyes the same way you do. Remember it.
You're really willing to betray Pierce like this?
This isn't a betrayal. It's just good business sense.
Now we could say, you might as well take this holotape back. I'm not giving you any intel.
Okay, goody two-shoes. If you don't want the information I have, that's up to you. But from what I hear about your boss, he wouldn't be too happy with that, would he? Your funeral.
Or we can keep the holotape without complaint and say, all right, I'm leaving now.
Toodles.
Next, we can move to the back of the room where we find Burke leaning against a fence.
Leave. Back off. You're not welcome. Go away.
And Burke is chatty. Interestingly, when I went through Steel Dawn the first time, Burke had a lot more to say. I'm not sure why they cut the dialogue, but this is what it used to look like.
Hello?
What do you do around here?
Guard places, lift things, kill people.
Oh, cool! I love lifting things.
It's good exercise. Keeps your body warm.
Is that all you're going to tell me?
It's what I do.
So you just do what everyone tells you?
Yeah, I like helping.
Can you tell me about the war party?
They're my friends.
You look up to Pierce?
Pierce is kind. I owe him everything. If you hurt him, you'll pay.
How do you feel about Sheena?
She's scary sometimes, but she does it for us. I would do the same.
Is there anyone else you're close to around here?
No, I don't get along well with people.
How do you feel about the Brotherhood?
They threaten my friends, so I'll take them down.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm not very good at talking.
Are you sure you're okay?
You don't have to talk to me if it bothers you.
All right, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. I know it makes people feel weird.
Now, we have an option here to say, what a freak! But I didn't choose that option in my live stream, and now that the dialogue is gone, I can't explore the response. That's all I wanted to ask, Burke.
Okay.
They have a big map of Appalachia on the wall, much like the Brotherhood do in Fort Atlas. But aside from a brewing station, there's not much else here. There is a gated-off portion that leads to a small stock of supplies, but we can't get back there. So looks like we've got a decision to make. Do we betray the Brotherhood of Steel and download this data? Or do we come clean? Well, heading back to Fort Atlas, we can make a decision. We can start by heading to Scribe Valdez.
Staying safe out there. Have a question. The past has the answers, but I'm not a bad backup.
I need your help with a situation involving the Raiders.
Raiders, huh? If they're anything like the raiders we've encountered on the expedition route, then my guess is the situation isn't pretty. All right, how can I help?
We could say they have some important information, but are asking for information about us in return.
I think I understand. The funny thing about data is you don't know what's real or not. Not unless you gathered it yourself. To be honest, I was working on encrypting my terminal for this kind of situation. So, if anyone accessed it who wasn't supposed to, they would just get false info and none would be the wiser. I didn't finish, but you can still use the fake data I created. Should be clearly labeled in the files. Just, don't select the wrong one. This is the raiders we're talking about. It'd be bad news if they got an advantage on us. Worse, if the Knight found out it was because of me.
Are you worried about unauthorized people accessing your terminal?
It's not likely to happen anytime soon, but an enemy could use our names, skills, and history to trick other members or develop a targeted strategy. I may also begin storing schematics and stockpile records on there. Right now, the Knight is doing it all by hand. Well, for now, I just hope we don't make too many enemies. I don't expect much from the Raiders, but maybe they're smarter than they give off.
You're a programmer too? Amazing!
Well, you know, just trying to help where I can. Rusty nails and live wires are fun and all, but sometimes it's also nice to write code without having to get my hands dirty.
Great, thank you.
Not a problem. I'm here to help.
Or we can say, actually, never mind.
I'll just get back to soldering wires then.
Either way, our next step is to go to Scribe Valdez's terminal and load Sheena's holotape. If we didn't tell Valdez about the plot, we only find one option here. Property of the Raiders. Don't even think about touching this if you're not one of us. Holotape storage, empty. We find an option to download terminal data. Transferring terminal data to holotape, full hard drive. Transfer complete. However, if we told Valdez about the plot and she agreed to drum up some dummy data for us, we find another option here to download terminal data dummy files. We'll do the dummy files. Transferring terminal data to holotape, Valdez dummy files. Transfer complete. Huh. I hope the file on the hard drive doesn't actually say dummy files. I mean, the Raiders might not be technically inclined, but they might figure that out. Regardless, once we're done, we've got to make a delivery. Heading back to Crater, and then to the war room, we can check in with Sheena.
You've got the holotape?
Why should I give this to you again?
Because you want to know where we got those Brotherhood logo rocket launchers from. And working with me is the only way you're going to find out.
And no matter what our choice is, we only really have one option here. We don't find an option to tell her that we loaded it with dummy data. Which I suppose makes sense. If we're going to load it with dummy data, we wouldn't want to tell her. So instead we can say, here it is, loaded with Brotherhood intel.
Good, thanks. The weapons don't have one source. Some of them we looted off a group of unfortunate settlers. We've also traded them among ourselves. Some old friends visited Crater a while back wielding that firepower, claiming they earned it in a fight. They were bragging about it till the day they left. Said they sent some big armored folks running. I can't confirm that the losers were Brotherhood, but that was your logo on the side of those weapons, wasn't it? Doesn't matter to me. Now, I told you what I know. With any luck, we won't talk again.
But her luck runs out because we do talk again. You mean the settlers at Foundation had them too?
Yep. They may or may not have more, but they've definitely come in contact with them.
The other raiders you got the weapons from, where did they come from?
West. They said they passed through Ohio before coming here. I don't know how much further out they went.
Did your raider friends mention anything else about the fight?
They wouldn't shut up about it, so I learned to tune it out pretty quick. But I do remember them passing around a helmet with a bullet hole through its visor. A trophy from the Fallen.
A bullet hole through the visor? They killed a Brotherhood soldier? Could they have killed Knight Connors? That's all I wanted to know.
Don't change your mind. This was a one-time offer, and it's one that neither of us will speak of again.
I again tried to talk with Burke to verify that the dialogue really was cut.
Leave.
Yeah, it's gone. Well, we just learned a lot. This news is going to seriously trouble the Brotherhood. Heading back to Fort Atlas, we can check in with Knight Shin.
Reminder, this is the armory, not the barracks. Take your conversations outside. I see you returned from Crater. Standing by for your report.
What am I going to get for my efforts?
You'll get the honor of remaining in service of the Brotherhood. If you don't understand the value in that, then I question your commitment to our order.
The raiders got the weapons from 2 sources, possibly more.
That's not what I was hoping to hear. All right, tell me about the sources.
A group of raiders traveling from the west said they earned it in a battle.
I see. And are those raiders still at Crater?
They're not. Does it matter?
As a matter of fact, it does. If they were still here, then we'd have business with them. But they're not. So we need to focus on Appalachia.
Did you come into contact with those raiders?
Without more information, it's impossible to say. We fought plenty of raider groups across the entire expedition route.
We're really just gonna let them go?
I'd like to pursue them as much as you would, Initiate. But those were not our orders from Elder Maxson. We have duties in Appalachia. Ones that we've delayed for long enough as it is.
That's all I have to report about the raider source.
And the other one.
Some came from the settlers at Foundation.
Foundation 2. This is bad. Worse than I thought. At this rate, all of Appalachia will be toting these rocket launchers. All because of... Forgive me, Initiate. I lost my composure. We need to follow up with Foundation as soon as possible.
Wait, what were you saying? What caused all of this?
You don't have clearance for that information, Initiate. Proceed with your report.
Is Foundation really a concern?
Peaceful or not, civilians should not have access to that kind of technology. It's too easy for things to go wrong. Take the Great War as an example. That catastrophe is the inspiration for our mission today.
That's all I have to report about the settler source.
So that's everything. That was a thorough report. The Brotherhood appreciates your diligence looking into this matter. Our next step is to deal with Foundation. Paladin Romani already had plans to establish contact, so she'll want to hear about this. No need to expound everything. I'll follow up later with a more detailed report.
How did the Brotherhood lose possession of these weapons in the first place?
That's classified information, Initiate. Not every operation runs perfectly. All you need to know is that we're fixing it.
The raiders mentioned a knight's helmet. Did someone important die?
A knight's helmet? It must be. 2 other knights embarked with us from the west coast. Knight Thornberry returned partway through the journey. Knight Connors gave his life in honorable service to the Brotherhood.
I will not allow...
Show the proper respect when asking about him. To think they held onto his helmet like a trophy. It's unforgivable.
That was all. I'll report to Paladin Romani.
Ad Victorium.
With that, we complete the quest, Property Rights. And we begin the quest, Supplying Demands. To survive in Appalachia, the Brotherhood must work with the settlers of Foundation. If at any point after the quest we head back to the makeshift shelter, we see that the Brotherhood has it lightly defended with protectrons. Now that they have the weapons, looks like there's really no point for them to occupy this place in force. But sadly, I'm all out of time. We'll have to see exactly how the settlers of Foundation fit into this whole stolen weapons narrative in my next episode. I publish new videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already, but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter @Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members and patrons on Patreon gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, and YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and access to ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with the next chapter in the story of Steel Dawn.
Protect and serve. Protect and serve.